Two, three. Good morning, everyone. It is a beautiful, amazing, slightly warmer morning than the last couple of weeks and months. It is finally starting to warm up, starting to feel like spring, and it is going to be a joy when we finally get down into that. I've been really enjoying going through crucial conversations with all of you, and this week we'll be continuing, but next week we will have off for Wednesdays, and there will be a little bit of a difference in how our devotional runs next week. But I'll leave that for next week, a little surprise. But this week we are continuing to talk about the very, very basics of crucial conversations. So we talked about what they are. Crucial conversations where two people or more are invested, they have different opinions, their emotions are high, and there's a conflict between the two of them because of that. And those generally move us to either run away or to fight. The first step, and there's two very, very important things we have to do right off the beginning. And if we don't do these two things, nothing else will ever work out. And when we do have successful conversations, even if we do it accidentally, this is why they're successful. And the first one we talked about last week, and that is starting with our heart, understanding what do I really want. And a lot of times it's when you look at it, you realize I want this and this, but this isn't really that important. Like I really wanted this, but I was putting an and for this. So that's one of the first things you have to do. You have to understand what you really want, because if you don't understand what you want, then you'll never be able to communicate it to somebody else. The other thing you have to do to start is to learn to look, as the book puts it. And you're looking for a few different things. First of all, you're looking for crucial conversations. You're looking to know when they pop up. You're not going to be able to think clearly through a crucial conversation unless you know that it's there. And you know that you're dealing through it right at that moment. And it's tough. It's not always easy when people start spitting fire at you with their words, when they start moving away, to when you come into that conflict, to be able to take a step back and say, "Oh, wait a minute. So, we started a crucial conversation here. Something important just happened here." And the other thing that happens that shows those crucial conversations, the other thing you're looking for is when safety is broken. See, crucial conversations don't nosedive because people don't like what you're saying. Most of the time, I think the book puts it at high percentages, like 90%. People aren't having a problem with the content of what you're saying, because people will listen to almost everything, whether they agree with it or not, whether their opinion's going to be swayed or not. They don't generally have a problem, and the conversation doesn't nosedive because of conflicting content. It's the conflicting given. It is how it is presented, the change in presentation. They feel attacked, not because of the content, but because of how the person shared it with them. And when safety is broken, when they don't feel like they can share without being shot down, when they don't feel like they are mutual in trying to understand something and not trying to beat each other down, when safety is broken, crucial conversations can't even start well. And the reason why is because if it's the safety is broken right from the beginning, then you have two things that aren't trying to connect to figure one thing out. They're trying to figure out their own things without trying to work together. This person is the two people, okay? So we got one person over here, one person over here. If safety is there, they're at least standing in the middle, okay? Maybe they'll walk away from each other at the end. Maybe nothing will change. But at least for that conversation, they were talking. They were sharing there in the middle with safety. They didn't feel like they had to move away. But the moment safety is broken, one of two things happens. Either they attack, they feel like they've been attacked, so they have to attack back, and you get these back and forths. Or they feel like they're attacked and they don't want to deal with it. They want to run away, and so they start to move and move and move away. And it's not because of content, it's because of safety. They don't feel like they can be heard, and they don't feel like they can listen without getting into the argument themselves. And I've come across this a lot of different times, and that's actually one of the easiest things to see in people's lives, and in how crucial conversations come up. One of the biggest ones growing up was when my brother, my middle brother, I have two of them, when he was 17, he got in a car accident. And after that accident and the healing from that, there was this major tension between the two of us anytime this one specific thing came up. When he was in the car accident, he was on a bike and he got hit by a truck. And from that point, he did not feel safe in a car unless he was the one behind the wheel. Or my mother, for some reason, he was okay with her. But if anybody else is behind the wheel of a car and he was in it, he, especially right after everything that happened, it was white knuckles on the door. It brought back memories that weren't pleasant to him. Now, if he was just a good driver and didn't matter to me, I would have been perfectly fine with him being the one driving most of the time. And we had the same group of friends, so we drive around together, and I was the one with the vehicle, so a lot of times we would take my vehicle to go and do these things. But the problem is that while I understand that there was something he wanted and there was something that hurt him, he also scared me. See, I learned to drive out on farm roads, out in the middle of nowhere, and in some of the suburban area when I came back home. I learned to drive in college when I was in North Dakota. And I was a very safe, very grandma driver. Still very much am to this day. He is not. He learned to drive when he was in college, but he was at Moody Bible Institute in the middle of downtown Chicago. And he drives maybe a yard away from the person in front of him. And it freaks me out. And I couldn't stand it. And he would also drive so fast and so recklessly. And not only am I scared and upset and the safety's broken for how I feel about myself, but if we're mostly driving my vehicle, if something happens, this is my vehicle that's getting totaled. And it caused this tension where we both wanted something. When we were in the vehicle, we both wanted to drive because we both felt unsafe with the other person driving. And if this ever came up, if we ever talked about it before we were going driving, and if we just waited until the moment that we were in the vehicle, oh man, that was so much worse, because it would take us 10 minutes to even figure out who was going to drive. And when someone did feign to be like, okay, I'll let you drive, it led to tension the whole drive to wherever we were going. Until one day, and I hadn't been paying attention to the safety, I hadn't paying attention to how crucial this conversation was, and it would affect our entire days. There was times that, like, the conversations we would have about the vehicle, or the lack of conversations and just the faces we had when we were in the vehicle driving, would affect entire weeks. And one day I realized, you know what? I need to make this safe for him. It's not, like, for me, it's tough, but what do I really want here? I went back to, and at this point I hadn't gone through crucial conversations yet, but I thought about what I really wanted. What I really wanted wasn't for me to drive. It was just kind of an add-on, because I thought that was the only way I could solve this issue. But what I realized was that I didn't want for me to drive. I wanted to get to where I was going safely, and I wanted to feel safe doing it. So the next time it came up that we were traveling somewhere and we had to go together and one of us had to drive, I came in and I talked with him, and I put it out there with that safety right away. I said, hey, I want to talk about something. We're going to Stefan's birthday, so we're driving together. It's going to be a decent drive, and I just want to talk real quick because I know we're going to have a conversation about driving. And immediately he was all upset, and I understood why. I mean, he didn't say anything, but I could tell from his face it's not something he wanted to talk about. It's not something I generally wanted to talk about either, because the safety had been broken so many times. Like we didn't feel like we could talk about this without fighting for long periods of time. And I let him know right away that I wanted to figure out a way around this. And dropped down, and he was like, "Yeah, it's kind of annoying all the arguments we have about it." And so we talked, and we realized that there was a solution that had been there from the very beginning. But because we hadn't been looking to the fact that there was something important conversation wise that kept coming up, and because we were so focused on fighting each other and running away from the problem, and because we didn't care about whether we could listen to or talk to the other person in safety about this, that the simple solution of, hey, can you drive but just be a little more safe? Can you just like give a little more attention? Ever since then, perfectly fine. Like when he's in the vehicle with me, he understands, hey, he doesn't like my style of driving a whole lot. And I get nervous when he's behind the wheel just because I don't like anybody else behind the wheel. But if I can help make him feel safe, then I feel safe too. And we don't have to have a conversation. From that point on, it's been a different um, deal riding with him. And yeah, that means I'm never driving, but I have never felt more safe with him behind the wheel than after that conversation. And to be able to talk and say, hey, I understand that we both are hurting here, but we need to come to a end to this conversation. And this only happened because of the fact that I finally did see that there was a problem with our safety, a problem with the fact that we couldn't talk about the issue without either fighting or running away. And that's really, really tough. As you think about this and as you're praying, I just want you to ask God and think about if there's certain issues that you're going through, whether at work or at home or at church, where you feel like you can't talk about something because it's not safe. Because that generally means that that thing is important enough that you can't just let it sit there. Whether you're the one that's bringing the safety or you're meeting it there. It's the only way that crucial conversation's ever going to get started. And that conversation might change the rest of your life. I'm not perfect at this. I'm still every day have to look back and say, man, God, thank you for giving me a chance every day. Because I don't always see how I hurt people. I don't always see how I don't listen. I don't always see how my heart betrays me and wanting something that I really don't want. Next week, we're going to be talking more in depth about fighting and fleeing. And with that, we're going to get into the nitty gritty of what each of those look like. And neither one looks very nice. So this week, just remember that as you're going through your crucial conversations, look for the times those conversations start, for what you really want in those conversations, and the moment that they turn sour, why? Why was the safety broken? Why didn't they feel like they had to attack or run away? Why? Thank you guys for all joining us today. We're going to have a special, awesome Wednesday this week. We're going to be talking about missions. We're going to take a little break from Moses. So this week we will be talking about missions. Next week we'll be off. And then we'll be back on to Moses, starting with the plagues of Egypt.